Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to go on a deep dive guide into Gladiator Beast. I'm going to show you everything you need to know to play it at a high level, from the deck, extra deck, side deck, interactions, strengths and weaknesses, and what you need to know for interactions. I'm going to go over the deck list here. Let's get it out on the field. Okay, so I'll go over the names of the cards so you guys know, and if you already know you can skip ahead, and we'll go through the interactions, what they do and that kind of thing. So I have one Secutor, one Samnite, one Murmillo, one Retiari, one Hoplimus, one Bestiari, one Darius, two Akest, two Liquari, two Elemental Hero Prisma, the namesake of this style of deck, three Test Tiger, one Rescue Cat, one Heavy Storm, triple Book of Moon, one Mystical Space Typhoon, a Trap Dashu, one Compulsory Evacuation Device, two Gladiator Beast Chariot, one Mirror Force, one Starlight Road, one Solemn Judgment, two Bottomless Trap Hole, three Trap Stun, three Dimensional Prison, three Wabaku. Now you'll notice this is a trap heavy deck. It's because it's a control deck that snowballs. It's one of the few in the format that you can play that's quite literally all back row, and you'll be happy with that. So we'll just go over the cards and what they do now. So this is a Prisma deck. The whole idea is you can get off some very, very easy combos with Elemental Hero Prisma. Since all of the Gladiator Beasts, their effects are when they come out from a Gladiator Beast being special summoned, they get their effect to do something. Now Gladiator Beasts just say they have to be returned by a Gladiator Beast card, and Test Tiger sends back a Gladiator Beast card. So you can send a card like Bestiari, and it becomes the name Bestiari, and then you can use Test Tiger to send it back to get a different card. So this is an easy way to set up a bunch of combos, and it just requires you to have the elemental heroes in your deck. Very simple. The only thing is you have to use a specific named Gladiator Beast card on a fusion. So for example, Gladiator Beast Heraclinos right here requires you to have a Liquari, so you can only send a Liquari. And the main one you'd be using will be Geyserus, and Geyserus requires the Bestiari, which is at 1 for a reason. Okay, so now that we understand this Prisma deck, we'll just go over the Gladiator Beast cards. So this is one of the few cards that is basically a dead draw. So this card, when it comes out from a Gladiator Beast card and it survives a battle, attacking or defending, you can special summon 2 Gladiator Beast cards from your deck, which is incredibly powerful. The problem is obviously it has to be coming out from a Gladiator Beast card, and if you just raw summon it, nothing happens. It's the worst card in your deck. Generally, you will never go into this unless you have Test Tiger. Test Tiger will let you have the free attack when you need it, thus getting you 2 cards, and usually this is your way to secure the Heraclinos in that turn. Play 1 Samnite. It has double functions here. First of all, it can come out from Rescue Cat, which summons level 3 or lower beast-type monsters from your deck. Secondly, it actually has a fairly good effect, where if it destroys a monster by battle after being summoned from a Gladiator Beast, you can search a Gladiator Beast card. So you can search a monster, but more importantly, you can search the trap card, which stops effects. Then we have Murmillo. When it comes out from a Gladiator Beast monster's effect, you can destroy a face-up monster on the field. It's important that you know that's face-up because you can't destroy set cards and you might screw yourself over. Then we play 1 Retiari. This is a card that people are interchanging between 1 and 2. 2 being because many of the format's best decks have a lot of graveyard abuse, and so this guy is essentially a different Dimension Crow. When he comes out, you can banish 1 card in the graveyard. Very, very strong. You want to target Treeborn Frogs, Vayus, these kind of things. The reason why I'm playing 1 is because I am playing the Hoplimus, which we'll discuss in the interactions of why I'm playing it. But generally, I find that people just replace this for a second one, but some people will play this for the later on interaction. But this one is very special because when he comes out, he becomes 2400 defense, which is quite big. A lot of the Vayu cards that they synchro into cannot get through this. But also, if your opponent doesn't know what you're playing and you set that at turn 1, they're going to think it's a Raikou, and you get a free tag. All of them just go back in the deck, and they special summon a different one, called tagging. Gladiator Beast Bestiari. This is at 1 for a reason. When it comes out, you can destroy a spell and trap on the field. You don't ever want to go into this when your opponent has a lot of back row, because if you get bottomless, you're doomed, because he's your main way to make fusions, because you're going to probably make Geyserus as many times as you can in a game. So you definitely want to just do this when you have a free tag, they have no back row, and you want to destroy or you want to use Geyserus to destroy their monsters. And it's also mandatory, so if you have a back row and they don't, you have to destroy your own card. It's another reason why you don't want to. But generally, you don't want to bring this out unless you have a clear way to summon Geyserus without losing this card. With Prisma usually, or you could do it by setting cards. We'll go into the interactions of that later on. This is one Darius. Darius's ability, when he comes out from a Gladiator Beast card, you can target a Gladiator Beast in the graveyard and special summon it. Its effect is negated, however there is ways to get around that, which again in the interactions we'll discuss. And you can also, and if he is destroyed or leaves the field, the other card goes back in your deck. So sometimes it'll be a way to recycle a monster in the worst case scenario if they choose to not kill your guy, and you can have two guys in defense, or in attack mode or defense mode that can, protect your life points. Two quests here, same thing when it comes out from a Gladiator Beast effect. You're going to add a Gladiator Beast card from your graveyard back to your hand, usually a War Chariot, but it could be another monster if you need to get something back or you don't have a way to get Chariot yet. Laquari is your main beater of the deck. He goes up to 21 when he comes out from a Gladiator Beast effect. The only thing is he's just used for making Heraclinos, I suppose, and he's really big, so he gets over a lot of the problem monsters like Sirocco, Thunder King, these kind of things. We have two Prisma, like I said, so you declare something, so I will choose Geysers as an example, and it requires me to have one Bestiari, so I'll send a Bestiari for the effect, and then you'll use the Test Tiger in combination with this to send this back to get Darius, who will pull back Bestiari from the graveyard, and you'll be able to instantly tag for this card here, destroying two cards. Excellent combo. That's basically all it's used for there. Sometimes in a matchup, you could also remove cards you're not going to need. For example, if I was playing the mirror match for some unholy reason, I might want to get rid of this card out of my deck late game, because if I set that, my opponent will get to tag for free as well. Test Tiger is the broken card of the deck. It's kind of what makes the deck very good. You special summon it if you control a face-up Gladiator Beast card, and you can tribute it with cost to send back the Gladiator Beast card, and you can summon out a Gladiator Beast card from your deck as if it was summoned from a Gladiator Beast effect. We'll do some interactions about that later. Rescue Cat, you contribute as cost to get two level 3 or lower beasts from your deck, so you're probably going to get this one and this one for free tag into whatever you need, or if you already have a Gladiator Beast card, you can get this card to get double Test Tiger and really just destroy them with multiple card advantages. Play one Heavy Storm. Again, as you can tell, if you survive battle with any of the Gladiator Beast cards, you're going to need to tag into other stuff, so Heavy Storm's a great way. You just play Heavy Storm, they have no back row to stop your attack, you can hit into something in defense, or in attack mode, and get your tag in there. Triple Book of Moon. Not many decks in the format are now playing Book of Moon, but this deck in particular, very, very, very high value of the Book of Moon. It can be used offensively or defensively. So what I mean by that is if you attack with one of these monsters and they have a bigger monster, you can Book of Moon it to hit into it to tag out to get the fish to blow it up. You can also attack, and if they have something that like a D-Prison, and you can't afford that, you can book your own card. You can also, if they summon a problematic card, Book of Moon their card, or you can also, in response to attacking on the declaration, if they have not activated a card, you can activate Book of Moon. Like, there's many, many circumstances where Book of Moon is incredibly powerful. So this is one of the few decks that can really take advantage of playing triple Book of Moon. Play one Mystical Space Typhoon, the same reason as Heavy Storm, but twofold. One of the cards that you're really scared of is Royal Oppression, so you want to play a few outs to that as well, including some trap cards that we have here. But MST is just an excellent card. It's at 1 for a reason. Trap Dust Shoot. Very simple. If you go first, you look at their hand. You can put back a monster. The putting back a monster is obviously powerful, but the main thing here is you want to know what you're going to be dealing with when you get to your battle phase with your monsters, and this will show you their whole hand. And in some of the matchups that you have a harder time at, or in some of the matchups that are, more control-based, they'll have more cards in their hand, so this will be effective at seeing what you need to deal with. Play one Compulsory. Some people play 1, 2. I guess you could play none. Just put back a monster into the hand, but you're going to generally target extra deck cards such as Stardust Dragon that, kind of slows your deck down, and you're going to put it back in their hand. Vayu Turbo, they're synchros. They're not going to be able to keep ladder synchroing through the grave because you put it back. And sometimes if you summon and they have like a bottomless, you can activate Compulsory to add it back to your hand. War Chariot, this is one of the best cards in the deck. So this card allows you, if you have a face-up GB monster, to negate any effect and destroy it. Incredibly powerful. One Mirror Force, same kind of thing. Good card. Starlight Road. Obviously, you see how many back row cards I'm playing. You might as well play a Starlight Road, and if you get it off, you win. And you're also scared of Heavy Storm yourself, so this is a easy inclusion. Solemn Judgment, same kind of deal, but in general, you can just solemn anything. Sometimes I might need to attack, and they activate D-Prison. You can solemn it, get your effect, and you're winning from there. Snowball. 2 Bottomless Trap Hole, just a good card. 3 traps done. Some decks play 2, some decks play 3, but in this deck, since we're playing, all of these combo pieces and stuff, you want to actually make sure that they do not respond to your summons with Bottomless, Torrential, Mirror Force, Deep Prison, Oppression, DDV, just all the traps that would screw you over. You have the trap stun there, and it's extra value when you go trap stun into Geysers, which destroys 2 cards. 3 Deep Prison, just an excellent card, deals with problems. And 3 Waboku. Basically, every time you resolve this with a GB on the field, you'll probably win. Your guys can't be destroyed by battle, and you take no battle damage. So you can use it defensively by setting a card and playing Waboku and then tagging, or you can use it offensively with your Sekitor as an example to get that free tags and summons. Excellent card. The last 2 cards in the deck that we should talk about are Gladiator Beast Geysers. So Geysers, when it's fusion summoned, you can destroy 2 cards on the field, and then when it survives battle, attacking or defending, it goes back in the deck and you can bring out 2 Gladiator Beast cards, except for the Bestiari. So this is your boss monster, since Heraklinos mainly seals the deck. I would say that these work towards winning. This sets you up for game, and then Heraklinos seals the game. Now Heraklinos is very, very strong, but it cannot tag. So once he's out, he's out. You got Liquari plus 2 monsters, and you summon this guy, and you can discard a spell and trap to negate a spell, or you can discard 1 card to negate a spell and trap that is activated by your opponent. So you can lock them out of the game by having 2 cards plus a Chariot, or maybe 1 card and a Book of Moon or Back Row. They can no longer get through this card, and it's massive, 3,000. These are the only extra deck cards that I think you'll need. Since you have plenty of room, you can max these out. So obviously Heraklinos, excellent card. You'll need it for your synergy of your Gladiator Beast cards. Geysers is the main guy you'll need. Definitely, you'll probably make 2 per game, 1 per game kind of thing, maybe 3. Chimera Tech, there's no reason not to play 3, and you can actually side in Cyber Dragons and use Prisma to discard the Cyber Dragon, and then contact fusion your opponent's cards for this card. So it's an auto inclusion in the deck in most main decks of any deck, but you can max this out and you actually have better synergy than most decks since you play Prisma. And Starlight Road, obviously, so we have Stardust Dragon. However, there's plenty of other cards you can actually add into your extra deck that is strong if you're playing tech cards like Gale. Maybe you're playing, I think Gale is probably the only card that you would want to include, and in historical decks, a lot of them did play Gale, since Gale is a strong card, and it's a good out to Stardust Dragon, which is pretty bad for your deck. So here's my side deck. Obviously, it's depending on what style of deck you're playing, because there is regular Glads, Prisma Glads, there is teched out Glads, there could be Test Ape Glads, there's plenty of versions. So you want to play a side deck that's geared towards your win conditions. Mine is Prisma. I think it's one of the strongest, if not the strongest version of the deck. So this is what I have for my metagame. So I have 1 compulsory. It's great for the Vayu decks. It's great for random matchups, quick draw, these kind of things. 3 trap holes, great for fairies, but especially excellent for Blackwings, which is a very annoying deck because they're going to have real back row comparatively to, say, Frogs or Vayu Turbo. 1 more Chariot for anything that plays a lot of effects, but mainly Frog Monarch. 3 Dust Tornadoes, you're going to want to put these in for the game 2s and 3s when you know they have a lot of back row, or if they're playing cards like Royal Oppression, maybe they're siding in Royal Decrees and you're not wanting these in. Depends on what they're putting in. Generally, you're going to put in 1 or 2 regardless. 2 Anti-Spell Fragrance, this is mainly for Frogs, but it's just an interesting card overall. I mean, Lightsworn, it sucks for Lightsworn, I would say it sucks for Fairies. And the reason why you're playing this card over, say, Mask of Restrict, this card says you cannot tribute, and Test Tiger tribute. So in a traditional Gladiator Beast, this card would be much better than this card. However, since we're playing Test Tiger that requires you to tribute, you don't want to play this card. 1 more Retiari. Like I said, a lot of people will just side a second one or be main decking the second one. You're going to want this against Vayu, Frogs. You could put it against Fairies, Lightsworn. This is probably the best card in your deck outside Bestiari. 2 Cyber Dragons, you're just going to want something to beat down your opponent on turn 1 when you go second. It's good versus machines, and it's good for fishing out Raikos, because you obviously want your Gladiator Beast to go through. And then 2 Smashing Ground for your opponent. If they go first and they summon something, like a Shura, if they summon a Machina guy that you can't get through, you can just smash right there and you're going to get the free tag. All of the deck is designed to just do something, attack and tag out, and get what you need to get advantage. It's a very snowbally deck. I can just smash something, attack in. So these are the 5 cards, but I definitely have some of the cards that you can try. I recommend giving it a chance. Mask of Restrict for the reasons that we just explained. Gores, if you're playing less of a back row, maybe a more traditional Gladiator Beast deck might want to try playing this. Edgeguard has seen some play. It's essentially a Waboku for your monsters, but from a hand trap. The problem is you have to have a face-up card, so it has to have some kind of synergy, whereas at least Wabaku, you can save your life points even if you don't have the monster on the field. Obviously, DD Crow. DD Crow is just a strong card. I would only recommend siding 1 or 2 max, because if you see this card, you're going to probably play it on the turn or the turn after that you have it. You don't want to draw into multiples. Since your back row is so large, you can actually side into more stun cards like Thunder King Ryo, Kaiku. Depends on the decks in your metagame, like if there's a lot of more zombies, these would be more effective. Some people have Test Ape. It's just a recruiter. When it dies, it gets a Gladiator Beast card, so you can actually get through heavy back row. If this dies, you get a Bestiary, and since it's the damage step, they can't use Bottomless Trap Hole. It's an interesting card. We have a profile on my channel that utilizes this in the main deck at 3. I have a Gale. Some decks will tech this. It's an Out to Stardust Dragon. It allows you to synchro summon other cards that are very strong in the matchups, like, you know, Ancient Fairy Dragon, Black Rose, Stardust Dragon, these kind of things. A lot of decks will either main deck this or side it, or I guess not at all. I don't play it at all, but incredibly strong. You can use this on Geyserus, and it will special summon it and destroy 2 cards on the field. Super broken. Getting you the extra Gladiator Beast. It could also save you from dying. You can use many different combos with it. Light Imprisoning, if your metagame has a lot of Lightsworn as an example. My Body's a Shield. If your opponents are going to be playing a lot of back row, especially the ones that are going to destroy your monsters. Mind Control, if you for some reason are playing against a ton of Gladiator Beasts, you can take their cards and tag. Ancient Forest. This card is not very good versus Monarchs, but it's good against aggro decks like Bayu Turbo, since if they attack, after the battle phase, those cards are destroyed, and your cards get around it by going back in the deck, so you won't get destroyed, but they will. You have a Dimensional Fissure. A lot of your cards are not going to go to the grave, they go back in the deck, so this is an easy inclusion in a lot of decks if you're playing against a lot of things like Lightsworn, Zombies, Vayu. Some people will play a Respite in their main deck or side deck. This card, put 2 Gladiator Beast cards back in your deck, shuffle, and draw 3 cards. So, you're basically 3 for 3. I wouldn't recommend this because you have to have the Gladiators in your hand, which is not good. But if you're playing a heavy back row, this might be an inclusion that you want to think about. Twister, again, one of the main problems with the deck is it loses to Oppression. So, there you go. Royal Decree maybe as well. Shrink, some decks main deck it or side deck it. Allows you to win a lot of battles and then tag out. Cold Wave, you activate this and then you try to make Geyserus. They can't come back with, like, for example, a Miracle Fusion. Soul Release, just a good card versus Frog Monarchs and stuff. I don't think you need it since you play Retiari already and a main deck Retiari, so you essentially have double DD Crow and you have 4 Chariots, but if, why not? If your whole metagame is frogs, play more. And lastly, I just wanted to talk about this Upstart Goblin here. Some people will play it, but in my opinion, it's actually a bad card in this deck because you don't actually want to draw the monsters, which this can do, and then you won't be able to tag into what you need. So I wouldn't recommend this, but consistency is key when you're playing a large tournament. This might be something that you need to look into. So for the strengths and weaknesses of the deck, the strengths are obviously that it snowballs. Another strength could be that it basically has a free matchup versus frogs due to its double DD Crow effects off the Retiaris. I would say that also if your opponent doesn't know what you're playing, I would say that's a big strength because a lot of people will think you have Rykos, Hamsters, things like that, or just War Chariots in general can win you the game in game 1 since your opponent generally won't have an out to it, or they have to just play around it even if you don't have it. So there's a lot of strengths to this deck, but the weaknesses, for one, there's a bunch of cards that just kind of blow you out and there's not much you can do about it. So here's 5 that I could just name off the top of my head that just pound you if you don't have the out to it. Like Solemn Judgment, Starlight Road. So for Heavy Storm, obviously if you go ahead and set 2 and play a monster and they go Storm and beat you down, you're crazy far behind. Brain Control. So there is ways you can play around this, but generally if I summon a Gladiator Beast, set a Chariot, and set something else, and you go Brain Control and do your combo, I get kind of pounded. Deck Devastation Virus hits 90% of my deck. Pretty not okay. This card, yeah, it's at 3, cool. I hate that card. And Royal Oppression. So Royal Oppression, your Gladiator Beasts, when they activate their effect, it's a cost to go back in the deck, but nothing comes out. So it's not incredibly bad, but it's pretty bad because you can no longer tag. Giant Trinade, there's almost no outplay to this outside of activating Solemn Judgment, which is pretty not good trade. So these cards, these are the bane of your existence. Now, Brain Control, I said I would talk about this in the interactions, but I'm going to talk about the interactions pretty quick. So right now, we're just going to talk about the Brain Control in general. So if you have a double tag your brain and you think they might be able to Brain Control you, you're going to go into this. This is the reason why I play Hopulus. So brain control on any of these monsters doesn't solve the problem if you have a chariot in your back row. Because normally, let's just say I got, let's grab a different GB here. So I summon myself one of these and one of these. Brain control takes this, attacks this, and I lose my chariot because I have no face-up Gladiator Beast. But here, this will be 24 and this will be 21. If it attacks into this, nothing will happen. They can't tag unless they're playing the mirror match. And if they take this, they can't remove this from the field with this card. So this is the reason why I'm playing Hopulus, and it's also the reason why I think that this card is just good, because it can wall in so many different situations. But brain control generally is pretty not fun. So if you lasted this far, we're going to go through the interactions now. I think that just in general, the strengths of this deck really outweigh the weaknesses, as long as you have a good ratios. You don't want to shuffle your deck and then suddenly you have, all traps or all monsters. That's pretty bad, but generally it's pretty good. Okay, so the first thing is we're going to talk about tagging. So tagging is a cost, like I just mentioned in the previous part there. You'll go back in the deck as a cost, and then you'll bring out a Gladiator Beast card. A lot of these are mandatory, but it's just important that you understand that it is a cost to tag in. So Royal Oppression will destroy it, but it will still go back in the deck because it's activating the effect to special summon. Next, we'll talk about chain blocking. So if they have a Stardust as an example, and you can special summon Secutor, and let's just say you have a Trap Stun, okay? And they have a Stardust Dragon, which I believe I have in this pile right here. So my opponent has Stardust. I tag, I go, let's just say I have this guy, and this card is set, and I have a Test Tiger. So I'll special summon Test Tiger, and I'll use the effect to jump back in the deck, and he'll pull out Secutor. Sorry, I also need Wabaku. This is just if they had traps. But so you're going to activate Wabaku, and you can attack into it. Of course, you'll take a lot of damage, that's unfortunate, but you'll need to activate an effect that you can use both effects. So maybe I'll use this card, and I'll use this card, since they come out at the same time. Where's the fish? Did I pass the fish? I did. So, Stardust can't negate if you are on Chainlink 1, since Chainlink 2 must resolve first. So you're going to go Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2. So I'll banish a card in the opponent's graveyard, and this will blow up this card on resolution. He can't activate this effect and miss the timing. So there's actually a way to play around Stardust Dragon if you have a Secutor in the deck that you can go through, only because the two that come out at the same time. Alright, next we'll look at the Darius. So let's just say I have Laquari, and I attack, and I tag out, and I get a Darius. Darius will target this card, and it will try to special summon it, but its effects are negated. The reason why Book of Moon is also very powerful in this deck is because if you chain, it only negates it if Darius is face up. So we're going to chain, this will come out, and this effect will still activate, destroying a spell and trap. Now, obviously, that's a pretty strong thing. You can also tag after that if you have the Bestiary. But one of the main things is you'll be able to tag into or activate Geyser's ability. So let's just say I attack and I tag, and this had been previously destroyed, and I summon out my Darius, wherever I put him. Why did I put him back in the deck? Right, so I summon Darius, and I'll target this Gladiator Beast card, and I'll chain, so he comes out and destroys 2 cards. Extremely powerful. So this is the reason why Book of Moon is also more powerful, but it's also the reason why Darius can also be very powerful. And you're not going to worry about Bottomless Trap Hole or anything, because you're going to just chain the Book of Moon. So he'll go out, this comes out, destroys 2 cards. So super strong, but Darius's ability is actually more powerful than it first seems if you think about the fact that you're playing triple Book of Moon. And next, we'll talk about dodging Icarus attack. So it destroys 2 cards, it has to. So you can summon this card and special summon this card. And if your opponent can't really activate anything here in response, because you're going to activate Test Tiger and Tribute as cost to put this back in the deck. So as at this point you have 1 card, it's going back in the deck, and you're going to get out, for example, a Laquari, and you still have 1 card, and you'll be able to beat down whatever monster they got or activate an ability of whatever other summon you'd like to do. But by tributing as cost of the Test Tiger, you will dodge the Icarus playability here, allowing you to still get your 1 card and tag. Lastly, I want to talk about some tagging. So if we look at a field of, say, these cards, and I have Secutor, and let's just say my opponent has nothing or whatever, and I attack with all 3 cards. So all 3 cards can now activate their effect to tag, assuming this guy came out from a GB, but I put all 3 here. They're all tagging. If I activate this effect, before I put this back in my deck, I cannot summon this card. And I might want to do that in that case. So it's very important that you tag in the correct order. So for example, if I want to use DD Crow here, I will put this back in first, let him tag first, and I'll get out something like, I don't know, let's just say this card. And then I might want to then activate this card to get this card and this card. And then I can tag this in for whatever I want. But if I tag this in now, I cannot make Heraklinos with this field. So you got to make sure that you're tagging in the correct cards first so that they're in the deck to come out from other cards. Something to keep in mind. It's one of those few things that I would say that make the deck a little bit more skillful than most decks, since you have to really play around your sequencing. Let's talk about tagging a little bit more here. If you have some cards like this, and let's just say I summon this card, and I know my opponent has Bottomless Trap Hole. To fulfill the conditions of the fusion summons, you can have the card set. So this is in my hand, I can activate, or sorry, I can set, and then reveal it for a fusion summon. This allows you to dodge Bottomless, Torrential, these kind of things, but also, in general, I would say that you can do it just the same with Cyber Dragons. You can Tribute set them and Contact Fuse their machines with your Chimera Tech as the fusion. So you always want to remember that you can set cards. If this card is face up and I had this, I could set this to reveal 2 cards for Geyserus at any point there and make a fusion. So it really helps you get around some certain situations like Bottomless Trap Hole. So lastly, I want to talk about this card, Prisma, so we can send a Bestiary with its ability. Then I'll use a Test Tiger because it counts as a face-up Gladiator Beast card since the name has been changed. Tribute its cost, send this back to the deck, grab out a Darius, and the Darius can get back this card, and then you have a Geyserus right here. So Prisma is very powerful in these like small little combo things. There's also plays where you can send other cards that you don't want to draw, like I was saying. But one of the main things that makes it so powerful is you have more synergy versus machine decks by using it to send Cyber Dragon. So you can send Cyber Dragon with Prisma when you side it in, and then Contact Fuse for Chimera Tech, since it only requires you to play machines on the field, not just your field. So their machines plus your Cyber Dragon will contact and make this card. Incredibly powerful stuff. So there you have it. That's the Gladiator Beast in-depth profile. I feel like you guys have learned a lot. You know a bunch more than you probably came in knowing, and I hope that you can play it and enjoy it just as much as I have in your next tournament. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.